time for the one and the only show. It's the Luke Howard Show. Morning everybody, welcome to the show. It's just gone 10 a.m, lovely to have your company today on Britain's best radio show. It's Wednesday the 22nd of July and we've got a great show lined up today. Lots of stuff to talk about, from news to news review. We're also going to be talking about music, and not music, we're talking about music, we're going to be playing music, we're going to be playing great music. There's got great entertainment as well, and I want to talk about Coronation Street, because they've gone back to doing the filming for that programme. So we're going to talk about the soap and about how they're planning to do the filming and how it's all actually going to work. So we'll talk about that in the show a bit later. And we're going to start off by talking about a piece of news that has emerged from Russia. So we'll get to that in a moment. But first, I must say how you can get in touch with Britain's best radio show today. So you can text the word talk and your name and where you're from to 07593 847 105, or you can call that number and we shall get straight back to you. Of course we will. If you ever text or call us, we'll always get back to you. Remember that, won't you? Just remember that. Or you can also find us on Instagram, which is at Luke Howard fan page. Just go on there and leave us a message, and we'll get back to you straight away. Or you can find us on email. It's garyjhoward68@hotmail.com. That's my agent's email. Or you can email the presenter myself, which is me. 345-457 at student.hrc.ac.uk. That's 345-457 at student.hrc.ac.uk. Or if you want to get hold of us via the hashtags, it's hashtag Luke Howard, hashtag Luke Howard Show, or hashtag listen to the Luke Howard Show. We'd love to hear from you. However you are getting in touch through the show, we'd be happy to hear from you. However you do get in touch with us, and we'll get back to you, and we'll give you a big mention on the show. Isn't that amazing? Give you a mention on Britain's best radio show. How exciting is that, getting a mention on this show? Well, you'll be very lucky to get a mention on this show. Very, very lucky, and we'll be happy to do it for you anytime. Just let us know, and we'll do it straight away. So, let's get cracking then with what's in the news today. Okay, so there's a piece of news that's actually emerged on the BBC News website. Okay, so it's a Russia report, and it's the UK that considered tougher security laws after criticism by the MPs. Now, the ministers are actually considering strengthening some security laws. This was after a report by MPs which accused them of underwriting the threat of Russian interference. The Transport Secretary, this is Grant Shapps, and a new law which is requiring foreign agents to register in the UK was being looked at. He said that the move would not be able to be the only solution to the security threats, but could make it easier to extradite spies. Labour was actually criticised the security failings in the UK's responsive to Russia. Mr. Shapps said that the government was already taking a more forward-learning approach, but also thought the time was right for additional powers. He also plans to make foreign agents register where mentioned in the government's alleged agenda. Now, last December, this is when it was, and they were previously announced by former Home Secretary Sajid Javid in May last year. Now, speaking on Radio 4's Today programme, Mr. Sharp said that registering might be very useful, although the cautioned it was not the entire answer to dealing with threats. The government, which will have to answer questions on the issue in the Commons later today, is going to be facing calls to do far more to actually counter Russian encourage and subversion after Parliament's Intelligence and Security Committee, which is ISC, said the UK was the main target with the US and NATO. Now, in the 50-page report, the committee said the UK was clearly a target for disinformation campaigners around its elections, but it was that the issue was described as a hot potato with no one organisation taking a lead to tackle it. The ISC, this is the member Karen Jones, told BBC Breakfast, a news programme, that he hoped any government announcement about new legalisation, which was one of the recommendations of
this report and wasn't just, spin, and actually resulted in action. The law under consideration could mirror the new Espionage Act suggested by the committee, which would actually make it explicitly legal to buy a spy in the UK. A political correspondent, which is Chris Mason, reported that such an act would compel those who represent the interests of foreign powers to register an arrival in the UK. Those who did not, and so approached covertly, would be breaking the law. If you do not seek, you do not find, is what they've been saying. Where a declaration of the defence is the Intelligence of Security Committee's very long-awaited report outlines gaping holes in the UK's handling of the threat from Russia. For years, it seems a lack of priority and a lack of curiosity allowed the risks to go unmonitored, if not also go unhacked. The UK government has now suffered its attitude to Putin's Russia. There's a video here that we're going to watch now.
He found it astonishing that no one in government had sought beforehand to protect the referendum from such attempts or investigated afterwards what attempts to influence it there may have been. The government, the UK government, should have recognised the threat back in 2014 in relation to the Scottish referendum, but it didn't. It didn't understand the threat until after the hack and leak operation against the Democratic National Committee in the United States. And because it was too slow to recognise the threat, it didn't take action to protect the UK in 2016. One would have thought that once the existence of that threat had been understood, seeing what had happened in the US, that someone here would have wanted to understand the extent and nature of the threat to the UK, and we wanted to see the post-referendum assessment. But there isn't one. There has been no assessment of Russian interference in the EU referendum. And this goes back to nobody wanting to touch this issue with a 10-foot pole. This is in stark contrast to the US response to reports of interference in the 2016 presidential elections. No matter how politically awkward or potentially embarrassing, there should have been an assessment of Russian interference in the EU referendum, and there must now be one. And the public must be told the results of that assessment.
That was him speaking there. Does it make sense now, does it? Does it make sense? Does it? Does it really make sense? Are you sure it does? So, the MP's report claimed the government made no effort to investigate claims of Russian influence in the EU referendum and criticised illustrated agencies for not giving the issue more attention. And he said that the government only realised the level of threat with Russia that could pose after the so-called hack and leak operation against the Democrats in the 2016 US election, calling it a game changer. Game changer. Labour will later today use the urgent question in Parliament to highlight what is said are multiple shortcomings in the UK's national security policy shown by the report. Now, Shadow Home Secretary Nick Thomas, this is the Simmons, he said the government had failed to offer the UK's, this is the security services, the strategy to support the, this is the legality tools or the resources necessary to defend the country's interests. Mr Thomas Simmons said Labour would support the government if it brought forward measures and recommended in the report, such as new legalisation and working with online companies to ensure they act swiftly to deal with hostile state activity on their platforms. He told BBC Radio 4's Today, another radio show which today is called Today. He told that the report draws extraordinarily stark conclusions about the failure of our government, and its significance must not be unstratified. Now, there was no single minister, no single government department that was responsible for the protection of our democracy and our democratic discourse, and the observability now has to change. Now, the government has registered the committee's call for a full assessment by the intelligence agencies of potential Russian meddling in 2016 EU referendum, saying it had been seen no evidence of significant intolerance. From the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said on Tuesday that we've been clear that Russia must desist with its attacks on the UK and our allies. We will be a result in the defending for our country and democracy and our values from the such hostile state activity. Mr Raab categorically rejected claims by the SNP MP Stuart Hostile, a member of the ISC, and that the government activity avoided looking for evidence of Russian intolerance. Downing Street was accused of holding back the report ahead of December's UK election and for delaying its nominations to set up the new committee. Both claims the committee that both claims that it has denied. The Russian Foreign Minister called the report Russophoba. Okay, we'll leave that story there, and we'll talk about another story now, because I want to talk about the photo that started a search for the slave routes. Now, I've been looking at this story. It sounds very interesting, okay, because I'm going to read it now, and it basically is about this statue, and it looks really good. It looks really good piece of story. I'm just going to get it up, see it on my script, because I've got to try and find it now, because I've got it here somewhere. Let me just try and find it. I've got it now. I think I've got it. I'm sure I've got it. Is it there? Bear with while I just find it. Nearly found it. Nearly there. I'll find it in a moment. It's here somewhere. I'm sure I've got it. Is it here? Have I got it? Are we going to talk about it, are we? We're not going to talk about it. Okay, we're not going to talk about that story then. Okay, it's a shame we can't find it. But we'll talk about another story then now, because okay, let's talk about one more story then. Oh, that's what I want to talk about. Coronation Street. That was a story that I do want to talk about. Let's talk about Coronation Street then, shall we? Okay, let's talk about that, because has gone back into filming with socially distancing stunt using a dummy from the Nicker factory. Now, Coronation Street Sarah Platt loses her head over killer ex Gary Winders as the soap films its first socially distanced stunt using a shop dummy. Actors Tina O'Brien. It looks like a real. It looks like a real one. It looks real. But okay, actress Tina O'Brien and Mickey North were not allowed. They were not allowed to make contact in this scene, of course, in which Sarah runs in front of a car after she finds Gary killed. Long Shark, Rick Neal and actress Tina was replaced by a mannequin, while Mickey performed stunt jumping on the bonnet of the speeding car and being thrown into the road in the scene to be aired next week. Sarah runs away from Gary after realising that he is a killer, and as she races off, he yells after her, "And I'm still the same person," he said. Sarah then pushes her from the path of the car tackling, yeah. So, and then the actress Tina was replaced by a mannequin, and as she races off, she yells after her, I'm still the same person," was what they said. And they said the actors were filmed the stunt in Salford. This is using a cut-down mannequin from a knicker factory, Underworld. It's called Underworld, with the head flying off mid-shot. Mickey, 33, said the scenes he first after 3 months. And he hasn't. They haven't actually filmed Coronation Street for 3 months, and they've only really just gone back quite recently. And they said the scenes that he's first after 3 months of lockdown were tricky because it was raining. And he said, I always ask to do my own stunts, and it's one of the best parts of the job. But the bonnet was actually quite wet, and I thought that I was going to lose my grip. He said, and he said, I must get in the car. The first take was pretty nerve-wracking. The 36-year-old said that some say that the dummy was an improvement. He said, I'm looking forward to seeing it, and we have a very talented post-production team, so no one will notice that mannequin anywhere. Of course, they won't find it anywhere, I suppose. I mean, I'm sure they won't find out that he's there. I mean, I can see that there is a dummy there. I can see the hair, and I can see the face. It does look like a real dummy, and it does look real. Looks very, very real. Yeah. One more story then, because a 24 million fund for doctors to prescribe walks in country. Now, ministers have unveiled a 4 million fund so doctors can prescribe a walk in the countryside. The Environment Secretary George Estes announced money for a trial of green prescribing, where patients were told to spend time among nature as part of efforts to boost physical and mental health, which is what I do anyway, because I do a lot of walking. And I do a lot of fresh air walking, so I know what they're talking about. The Environment Department said that if successful, this will be scaled up across the country, making full use of our national parks and areas of outstanding natural beauty, so we can ease the burden on the old NHS. Mr. Estes will Mr. Estes unveiled the cash when he spoke off an online green allowance at the panel event later, which we announced about the panel, and he also outlined the plans to boost economic growth when the Brexit